And welcome to the program. Today, really big day. Today is the day of the health care. It either passes or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, Donald Trump has said he's done with health care. I want to hear from you. Yesterday, it was overwhelming. This audience called in and said, reject it. Don't do Ryan care. But if you don't, Donald Trump says he won't go for it again. Where do you stand on this? We'll give you all the details, and we want to hear from you right now at 888-727-BECK. I want to hear your voice on this. 888-727-BECK. We go there right now. That the president is done with this. I mean, first of all,
you don't write the law anyway.
Right. It doesn't come from you. You sign it at the end. And it's up to Congress to do it. It's up to Congress. Then it goes to the Senate.
So if they write a tremendous bill, you're going to now veto it because you're throwing a temper tantrum?
Or is he saying, I will, I don't know, sabotage it, or I will make sure that I'm, that I speak out against it, or what?
It was a bizarre threat. And and it's not, it's being received as if he gets to say that the health care bill will no longer exist if they don't vote for it today. And it's like, well, they're co-equal branches of government. Congress can do whatever they want. And if you want to veto it, then you can veto it. But that's not really.
But I will tell you, I mean, I really don't understand this. I really think this is Bannon's play for chaos. We all know that chaos is coming in the healthcare world because this is not going to last. It has to be changed. In my opinion, it has to be fully repealed, pulled up by the roots, and the free market restored and freed up. I mean, we can't go back to what we had because what we had wasn't working. It was a hybrid of socialism and capitalism. Now it's even a worse hybrid of socialism and capitalism. There's only two answers. You go single payer, full socialism, or you go full capitalism. You know which side I'm for. The president has said from the beginning he is for full-fledged socialism. Not in his words, but he says a single-payer government pays for everybody on everything.
Well, he said a lot of things about it, but he did say that as well.
Oh, he was that he was crystal clear on, though. Yeah. So what does this mean? Who would be advising the president to say these things? I'm just not gonna. I'm gonna take my ball and go home.
Well, I mean, look,
it's got to be solved.
I don't know that anybody advises him to say it. He just says it. I mean, that's him. That's Trump speak right there.
Well, I think it's his negotiation, right? He's saying, I don't want to spend any more time on this. He's now threatening to blame Paul Ryan for it. He's now saying that they should have done tax reform first, and it's a big problem. But it's amazing how far our Overton window really goes. I mean, think about this. Like if we had, let's just say, scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the least amount of government possible in healthcare, 10 being single payer, England. Let's say we were at a 5 in 2008. Mm-hmm. And Barack Obama comes in, passes Obamacare, and it moves from a 5 to an 8. This bill essentially is making it go from an 8 back to a 7. Okay?
Or a 7.5, and some would argue an 8.5.
Yeah. So, but it's barely moving the needle.
Yeah.
And so all the conservatives.
Massey actually said it's worse than Obamacare.
He did.
Yeah, well, I think it is because it's a fix that accelerates the bankruptcy.
Right.
Well, maybe. I mean,
it might.
I mean, it does cut the deficit. I mean,
supposedly
by $300 billion.
$300 billion. And the new one actually is less than that. It's only $150 billion.
Right.
But so you go from a 5, then you go to an 8 with Obamacare. Let's say this moves back to a 7, and the conservatives are saying, no, we want a full repeal, which would only move it back to a 5.
Right.
Where is the plan that moves it from a 5 to a 4 or a 3 or a 2? I mean, that's what we used to argue for. Our hardcore conservative argument is returning it back to a point where too much government was involved anyway. That you have control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Where's the plan that makes it more conservative than it was in 2008? Where's that plan? I mean,
it doesn't exist.
And it doesn't even exist.
Because there's no one. Look, because we knew this. We knew this. Wow, I have a lot to say that I will not say. We knew this. We knew this going in, that there is a progressive gene that is in the Republican Party. And when it came to Medicare or medical care, Donald Trump is a progressive. So you have Paul Ryan, who we used to all agree was a progressive, that was not the guy to come and tell us about Obamacare. Nobody wanted to hear from Paul Ryan. When was that? 2 years ago? The president comes in, Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan. They're the architects of this, along with Donald Trump. They're the ones that are going to give us the right kind of health care for conservatives.
No.
We were fools to believe it. Now, the question is, do we send a message? Because all that's going to happen, the Freedom Caucus is going to stand, and the Freedom Caucus will say no. Then Donald Trump will say, along with the press, it's the Freedom Caucus's fault. It's these constitutionalists' fault. I'm perfect. You know me. I'm perfectly willing to be the outcast. Yep, that was us.
I'm uncomfortable in any other position.
I am too. Yep, that was us. I refuse to do anything that is unconstitutional. Yep, you want to make it better. We will make it better. You just want to fool around and try to make the sewer. You're putting air fresheners in the sewer pipes. It's a sewer pipe. Mm-hmm. I don't care how you try to freshen the smell. It's a sewer pipe. I don't want to be in the sewers. I'm not going to recommend air fresheners. I'm going to say, hey, what do you say we open up the little lid and we climb out of the sewer and walk around in the forest and the clean air? What do you think?
Yeah.
You want an argument to pass it? Is it worth
Sure, yeah.
So if, let's say they passed the perfect bill in the House, everything went perfectly and you had the perfect bill in the House that got passed, it would go to the Senate and the Senate would not pass that same bill. They would amend it however they wanted, and they would pass a Senate version of it that you'd have to come together with afterwards. Mm-hmm. So if you want this process to continue, there's an argument to say the House, get it passed, because you weren't getting that bill anyway. It's going to go.
Do you think Mitch McConnell is going to?
He's not going to improve it. However, the Senate's going to come up with something, and they can pass something as well. Then you can come together and try to find a bill. But you killed. The argument is you kill the process here if it ends in the House and it's over, and you have no chance of repealing Obamacare. I mean,
if I had confidence that anyone in the Senate would listen,
they're going to make it worse.
Oh yeah, they'll make it worse. So if I had any confidence that the Senate would listen to, Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, or any of those guys, Rand Paul, I'd be for that. But look, get it out of their hands, get it over to the Senate in the hands of Rand Paul.
But isn't it a good idea to give Rand Paul a shot at it? I mean, he's certainly been pretty good on health care as they've talked about this debate.
No, I don't think so.
So why not give him a chance?
Because he's not going to be listened to. He's going to be listened to as much as he's being listened to right now. Not at all.
But I mean, the argument is from the Trump administration, you don't pass it in the House now, you don't repeal Obamacare. Now, that's not technically true. However, the way many Republicans in Congress seem to worship the White House.
I don't want to own this. I don't want to own this.
Yeah, but you might not want to own it, but it hurts people. Obamacare hurts people.
And Ryan care or Trump care will hurt people even more.
Well, arguably, I don't know if that's true, honestly, but still. Certainly it would be a savings and spending for the country.
Here's how it hurts people even more. It not only hurts people. You're looking at the tax savings, and so maybe some people have tax savings. That's not going to help us in the long run, because all they'll do is those evil people. They just wanted to have their tax savings. That hurts the conservative movement because this, whatever it is, will be deemed the conservative health care plan. This is not conservative. This is not free market. This isn't anything we stand for. This is a progressive healthcare plan.
Yeah, and we deserve
I don't
better.
want anything to do with it.
They could do better, and we deserve better. This is like, we talked about this a couple of days ago. It's like if Obamacare was a turd burger, this is a turd burger cut in half. Okay, well,
you're still eating turd.
It's still a turd burger.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
And I do think, too, you want the fastest route to single payer is you pass the Republican plan.
Yep.
And then if that is a disaster, which it very well might be, then they're going to say the only way to fix this is to make it single payer.
Right.
So that's another thing to consider here.
Because they will say, we've tried the Republican light. We've tried Obama light. We're going full in because this thing is collapsing. And it's no. I refuse to have my name and our credibility on that piece of garbage. Why? You will then officially own it. I don't want to own this. We as conservatives will own this mess because what people will say is Obamacare would have been better than this. Now the Republicans, they gave us something and look at what they came up with. We need the Democrats to fix it because Obamacare was better than this. And believe me, they will fix it. No. Call your congressman one way or another because I do believe the president will pull out. I do believe Trump will say, fine, we're moving on to something else. And he will target the Freedom Caucus. He will target all those guys.
And that probably hurts your tax reform plan, too, because he won't listen to them. And
wait a minute. Sounds like prophecy.
First of all, there's no good outcome. It doesn't seem from any of this. But the other part of it is, like, doesn't this show how little Donald Trump's administration as a whole cares about Obamacare actually going away? Like, they're like, well, you know what? If you don't want this one thing, I'm done with this week. This week is the end of my attention to this issue.
You know why, Stu? Because he is the kind of guy that, I mean, I've heard when we were hiring for HR, did an interview with a guy who said, I said, number one priority for HR for me is insurance. And he said, I can understand that. And I said, listen, my view on insurance, and I told him what I felt. His mouth opened up and he said, wow. And I said, you have a problem with that? And he said, no, I've just never heard anyone ever say that. And I said, listen, if my family can't use it, doesn't think it's right, has to go and do other things, I can afford that. My employees can't afford that. If I'm not covered on this insurance, they're not covered on this insurance. There's no two standards here. What's right for my family is right for everybody's family. And he said, I have been in boardrooms recently where all of the CEOs and all of the board of directors are there, and we're all talking about insurance. He said, because that's happening in boardrooms all across America. And he said, this is what they say. Somebody on the board of directors will look and say, don't they have, he said, this is a quote, don't the people have that Obama thing? Can't we just dump them into that? That is, I believe, Donald Trump as a businessman. That's the way he looks at it. There's a lot of people who are in business that say, dump them into Obamacare. I don't care. Get it off my books. I don't think he does care. You have to have an outlook, not as a businessman and not as a politician, but somebody who actually cares about the people and knows the government system never works. Never.
And Trump cares about the win here, right?
Yes.
Trump cares about the win, saying he kept a promise, and those things are good. I mean, you want that. But
I tried, and it was their fault. Now this, protecting your home has not always been easy, not always been cheap. How much do you pay for your security cost? Sometimes you'll pay up to $50, $60 a month just for the monitoring. But don't worry, the system is free. Yeah, that's if you're lucky. They try to convince you the system is free, but you're locked into a 2 or 3 or 4 year contract paying $60 a month. You've paid for that security system over and over and over again. How do I know? Best-selling security system from Simply Safe, completely wireless, top of the line, state-of-the-art technology, is about $600. So how many times are you going to pay for your security system? Over and over and over again. And they lock you into a contract. Simply Safe, it's $14.95 a month. You can cancel at any time. You own the system. It's fully wireless. So if you live in an apartment and you're going to move to another one, you live in a house and you're getting ready to move, you take the security system with you. And again, it's top of the line, state-of-the-art technology. Get a 10% discount right now when you go to simplysafebeck.com. Be protected by the end of the week. Well, next week, not this week because it's Friday, thank God. 10% discount. Go there now. Simplysafebeck.com. That's simplysafebeck.com. Yes or no? Do we pass it or not? The president says if you don't pass it, he's not coming back. Let's go to Sam in Oregon. Hello, Sam. Go ahead. You're on the Glenn Beck program.
Thank you, Glenn. Yes, I say kill this bill. It's completely worthless. But my bigger and only influence on politics anymore is the fact that without term limits, Congress is a joke, and they're never going to do anything that's worthwhile. You might as well just quit wasting your time listening to them.
I happen to agree with you.
I like this point, though, however, because if the result of this is Trump complains about how bad Congress was, this was also a campaign promise that Donald Trump made to push for term limits. It would be an interesting time to pivot and say, you know what? This is what's wrong with it. Is all these people here that have been here for whatever the argument is, I don't care. Yeah. I'm just saying it's a good time to push for it.
He could do that. Let's see if he does. It would be great if he did. Yeah. If he was using this as a way to set up Paul Ryan, and I know this is a little bit of the John Roberts after he rewrote the law to get it by.
I don't think it's his intent, but I think he's playing his hand where he is. And if he does something like that, maybe maybe
that's good.
Maybe.
Let's go to Adam in New York. Hello, Adam. You're on the Glenn Beck program.
Hello.
Hi. Go ahead.
Hi. No, I just wanted to call in and say that I think Trump's completely wrong for saying either pass this version of Obamacare Light or I'm going to move on to something else. He needs to be persistent about keeping a campaign promise that he made. And I'm one of the people that voted for him so that we could repeal Obamacare completely and not get this, Obamacare on a 5.
So how do you feel? Because this is probably one of the bigger things. I mean, you want to talk about a mixed bag. Looks like Gorsuch, and we'll get into this later, is going to be the next Supreme Court. And that's great. At the same time, on the same week, you have this debacle. So how are you feeling about? You feel betrayed? You feel good? How do you feel?
I feel pretty betrayed. I mean, yeah, we got Gorsuch in the Supreme Court, which is great. That's
great.
Perfect.
In my district right now, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what it is we're doing. And once we get it done, then we can have the chance to really explain it.
Who said that? Blast from the past.
Nancy Pelosi.
It was, we'll go stick with Nancy Pelosi.
Stick with Nancy. Well, it is a blast from the past. It happened last night on MSNBC. Who said it?
Republican Chris Collins. Now, of course, Nancy Pelosi said the identical thing, essentially. Mm-hmm. We go before,
we went crazy.
And everyone went crazy. Here's Chris Collins,
a Republican,
saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, you got to pass it to know what's in it. Let me go to Gail in Michigan. Hello, Gail. How are you?
Hi, Glenn. And I just want to let you know I pray for you guys all the time, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
But, I think Rand Paul and all of the Freedom Caucus, all of them out there fighting against this bill, need to stick to their guns because they're just fear-mongering again, and it's just bad. I mean, I know they can do better. I know they can do better than this.
They already have done better than this. They passed a bill when they knew the president wasn't going to sign it.
In 2015.
In 2015. That did everything. All they have to do is just pass that bill in the Senate.
But again, that bill is just flat. That was not an improvement on the current system. That just was the current system. They said, bring it back from Obamacare to what it used to be. Where's the thing that makes it better than where it used to be?
But that's what they promised.
That is.
They promised that they would bring it back to where it used to be. That's not what will fix things. That's not what we want. But that's where they promised us. They have that bill. They've already passed that bill. They passed that bill because they knew that it would never pass the Senate and it would never go to the president to sign. And they would just have all of us sheep go, look, they're on our side. Gail, thanks. Mike in New York City, welcome to the program.
Honestly, at this point, I don't care anymore. I mean, it doesn't seem like the people in Washington care, so why should I?
Oh, my.
It's been 9 years of arguing in this.
It's so hard not to feel that way. We just had that whole discussion yesterday at the end of the show.
Yeah. Yesterday at the end of the show, we fessed up. We don't care.
I mean, I care, but
I only care because of work. I really do. I only care because I have to come in here every day and try to make sense of it for the American people.
But we know it's not going to make sense, and we've been shown that time after time.
So,
after
I mean,
time.
I can't say. I don't know what to say anymore.
I know.
Well, what do you think this means? It means they don't care. It means they're in it for them. It means that they don't care about you. In fact, I'm convinced most of them don't even like you. And so why do we care? Well, what does this mean? What comes next? I don't know. More bad stuff from people who don't really even like you. I got nothing else to say anymore. So I only care because I know that's part of our job. But I'm with you. I'm with you, Mike. Thanks. Let's go to KC in Washington. Hello, KC.
Hello, good morning. Good to talk to you again. Saw you down in Safeco Field a couple of years ago, and I'm happy to talk with you. By the way, I'm a grandson of Alexander Milner.
I pretend that people in this show don't know who Alexander Milner is.
Was one of Washington's drummer boys that you have featured on your programs with Mr. Barton.
Okay. See, I knew they wouldn't know or remember.
Yeah, but I wanted you to
we were all over it, though.
Abigail Barton was his wife, so maybe Mr. Barton should look into that.
Wow.
I'm not for the Affordable Care Act the way that they want to do it right now. I think the Freedom Caucus should go ahead and keep what they're doing. I'm a 65-year-old retired Boeing worker. I'm not on medical. I'm trying to wait for the dust to settle. I appreciate the work that you're doing. My grandfather was coined the father of the concept of group life insurance, and all those people paid homage to him. But today, they're looking more at greed in the insurance companies, but we need to get back to a free market system.
Yes. Yeah. Casey, you don't fit in the Seattle area. I don't know what you're doing there, but
I'm from Iowa.
You're from Iowa. Yeah, but you've been working at Boeing in Auburn or Seattle?
I worked both in Renton and also up at Everett, putting together 777-767, and I was a former radio announcer in Iowa and Omaha.
Wow.
What street did you live on? Can you give us a little more detail?
Casey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Brian in Ohio. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Glenn and the boys. It is so nice to talk to you guys. I'm a longtime listener from Ohio, Marine Corps veteran. I just wanted to call and say we should definitely kill this bill. And another thing that a lot of people are not talking about is that the middle class, they want to talk about all these people that are added to the rolls. Well, they can add these people out of the rolls all they want and say they have insurance, but whether we can afford to use that insurance to help us better our lives is a whole other story.
How do you mean?
I mean, Glenn, it's gotten so bad over the past 7 years that I've worked for my employer, from where our insurance was to where it is now.
Oh, no.
I can almost barely afford with insurance to go to the doctor and be able to pay my bills to go see a physician.
Wow. Brian, thank you. I mean,
thanks for your service.
I have to tell you, we feel your pain. We feel your pain. And I am watching my company. Because of Mary's birth, my first child, I was, 21, 22 when she was born. And I was doing okay, but not okay enough to be able to afford major complications of a child without insurance. And she had strokes at birth, and she was in intensive care for about a week. And I remember there was a baby in a incubator that was a preemie, and it was actually cordoned off. You couldn't go close to it. And they said even a cough close to the incubator could collapse the lungs of this baby. It was so fragile. And I remember this couple, and they must have been 18 years old. I mean, really young. And they were devastated. And I remember walking by. I mean, when you all have kids in intensive care in the for newborns, all the parents kind of bond a little bit. Even if you don't talk, you just kind of look at each other. You've gone through this. Oh, yeah. I'll never forget the look of that kid who was just a couple years younger than me at the time. And I remember thinking, the doctor said they don't have insurance. And I remember looking at her, and she was all about the child, and looking at him, and he was like me, all about the child and all about, good God, what does this mean to our life? And I'll never forget it. And I happened to be working for a company that had unbelievable medical insurance. It was Eden's Broadcasting. And Gary Eden's was the best. And he made sure that everybody had the best insurance. And I never had to worry about anything with Mary. And then when I started going to other places with pre-existing conditions and everything else, it really controlled our life. Cobra became a big part of our life for a while. And there's nothing more difficult for a parent than having to worry about medical insurance. So I get it. And as apparently one of the few employers that actually care, the one thing we have to do is get this insurance out of the hands of the employers. We need to have bigger groups of people. You should be able to, join, your church's medical care, your whatever group you're in, I don't even know, the New York Yankees medical care.
Why would you even need, you should be able to join any group you want.
Yes.
You should be able to post on a message board, I would like to create a new group of people who have insurance, join now.
Correct.
The point is that the regulations stop this all the time. These sorts of things, if you had a free market, could happen easily.
They want to trap us into the medical care from our employers. And those groups, those pools are not big enough for some, especially small businesses like ours. It's just not big enough.
And that should stop. And again, this bill doesn't attack that at all.
At all.
Why don't we have a bill that attacks that issue?
Because nobody is, I'm convinced that people go to Washington and they might actually be convinced that they're trying to do it for the American people, that they actually care about the American people. And I think a lot of them do when they first start. And then they get so far removed from the American people and so far removed, and they get into this esoteric, free market stuff or political stuff, that they lose track on why it is they believe in the free market in the first place. And they just get lost. And listening to voices in Ohio saying, you could hear the pain in his voice, could you not?
Yeah.
How can Donald Trump say to that man, you pass this? He's saying, please don't. I can't afford it now. How can you listen to the voice of somebody who may have voted for you and say, you take this or I'm giving you nothing? That's not a group of people that actually care about you.
And what they're trying to do is kind of the worst of both worlds here. Because you could say, okay, we're going to keep it the way it is. And that's terrible. But at least it's not a change for people, and it makes it easy for politically. I mean, so if he does nothing, he can blame Democrats, he can blame Republicans, but it's never his fault. You know, you go back to...
And I'm not looking for somebody... I don't want it to be my fault. I hate that. But I'm only willing to take that if you're going to try to do something bold. This isn't bold.
That's my point. Yeah. It's like even going back to 2008 is not bold. I mean, you know, we know what they said in Jonathan Gruber wrote a report for MIT where he wrote, hey, if there's no Obamacare, there will be 54 million people uninsured by 2019. I think was his estimate. Now, these estimates have all been wrong. However, that's what they're saying is going to happen with GOP care by 2024. So you here are what? Delaying this number by a couple of years for multiple trillions of dollars over the long run, and you don't solve any of the problems. If you're going to go and change what you have, why not change it to something good instead of something slightly less bad potentially?
So let me tell you a story. Yesterday, I had a meeting with all of the top executives. They flew into town from Mercury Real Estate, this sponsor, but it ties into this. Mercury Real Estate is a company that I started with my brother about 3 years ago. We announced it about a year and a half ago. We started it, and we had 100 real estate agents. And we were looking for real estate agents that first were fans of the show, not casual listeners, fans of the show. Because I know one thing, our fans trust each other, and they like each other. And it's because the real fans of the show have just a set of principles that they live by or try to. Well, the results were fantastic, and so we announced Mercury Real Estate, realestateagentsitrust.com, where we line you up. So yesterday, I go into this meeting, and I sit with them, and I said, tell me what the people are saying. Tell me what you're hearing about that. I didn't care about the numbers. I didn't care about, the business stuff. I wanted to know what people were saying. And one of the guys sitting at the table said, Glenn, let me tell you about one of their real estate agents, who I won't name, but is in Washington State. This woman got a listing, and she was working with the wife. And she went over to the house, and she said, okay, you got to paint, you got to clean up your yard, you got to do this, you got to do that. And it was a poorish family. And she said, you know what? I'll come over, I'll help you. So she went over on her weekends, and she helped plant new plants in the flower bed for curb appeal. She helped this woman paint her whole house on the inside. Her husband, it comes down to sign the contract. She did this all before signing the contract. When her husband finds out that it's realestateagentsitrust.com, and her wife said, or the real estate agent says it's Glenn Beck's company, her husband hates my guts and said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. She didn't get the deal. She didn't get the contract. Here's the part of the story. I said, how is she? And she said, she's currently helping some other person paint their house. She hasn't changed. Doing the right thing, even if you lose, doing the right thing will pay off. I think this real estate agent is going to be a superstar. From the woman whose husband said no, I think that woman is going to say to everybody she knows, boy, this woman actually cares. You want to sell your house on time for the most money with people you can trust? Go to realestateagentsitrust.com. That's realestateagentsitrust.com. Last hour, we just opened up the phones. We talked to you. Was there a single person that said, no, let's go with the Ryan Trump plan?
No. Yesterday there was one.
Yeah, yesterday there was one. And yesterday, I think there were more people that agreed with us that I don't care anymore. I just don't care anymore. Because they're just going to do whatever they want to do. And even if they do something good, they'll end up screwing it up later. For instance, in my opinion, not passing this is good because it gives you a chance to go back and say, okay, let's really do it right. But instead, what they'll do is they will blame it on the conservatives, the Freedom Caucus, and then they'll come back most likely and do something far worse than this. So that just makes me say, I don't really care. Whatever. You guys are going to screw it up anyway. Whatever. Now let's switch. That was healthcare. Let's switch to Gorsuch. Did you hear Chuck Schumer yesterday? You want to talk about a guy who is out on planet 10. It's Chuck Schumer. We begin there right now. Because Gorsuch is an extremist, and if anybody in America watched Gorsuch at all,
you know he's out of control. He's
out of control. Listen to the case made by Chuck Schumer yesterday.
This morning, I'd like to lay out the reasons why I'll be voting no on this nomination.
Please.
Not
first. All right. Judge Gorsuch was unable to sufficiently convince me that he'd be an independent check on a president who has shown almost no restraint.
Holy cow.
From executive overreach.
Unlike Barack Obama, who never overreached. And, you don't want people with ideologies on the bench,
like Sotomayor.
Or Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
You
for
do
instance.
not want those people on the bench.
My goodness, you don't want that.
Right.
Second, he was unable to convince me that he would be a mainstream justice who could rule free from the biases of politics and ideology.
It's amazing.
Are you for real?
Are you
kidding me?
To the American people, this is so offensive. It's so obviously untrue, and it's just a bunch of crap. But inside Washington circles, this is what you get praised for. If you're willing to go out and blatantly lie to help your team, that is... you get a gold star.
That's the highest honor.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and he's ignoring the fact that he's got 4 justices that vote in lockstep with everything he believes every time without exception. 4 of them vote exactly the same way, leftist, extreme left, every single time. So who's he trying to kid here? Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it.
His career and judicial record suggests not a neutral legal mind, but someone with a deep-seated conservative ideology.
None of them are neutral.
He was groomed by the Federalist Society.
Stop.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Could you tell me about what a Federalist is?
Wow.
Pat, what is a Federalist?
Well, it's a person who is akin to Satan.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, it is.
Yes, but
yes,
but that's a Satan that believes that the states are supreme and the individual is supreme, and the federal government has
just like
limited
Satan.
power.
Just like Satan.
It's almost the opposite of Satan, but the Federalists believe that the individual has power. And Satan believes, give me all the glory and I'll force everybody to do the right thing.
This is a man who once had a library card. Oh, my gosh. Whoa.
I know, he didn't mention the one time he went to a moose lodge.
Hang on, yeah. He was groomed by the Elks Club.
Thank you.
He was groomed by the Elks Club.
And you know how, well, they're satanic rituals. As we all know.
Oh, no, the Elks
performed
Club?
in the basement of the Elks Lodges all over America right now.
Yeah, my dad and mom were in Elks Club. I was glad to get away from them.
Are you okay?
I thought I could have been an elk. Yeah, I could have been an elk today.
Wow.
If I hadn't gotten away from them, I would have been holding up signs.
Have some deep-seated
of
elkage.
Saying, no, I have elk.
You have elkiness. You do have elkiness right now.
Yeah.
You do.
I am attracted to club nights.
I've always suspected that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you go and you sit and you play cards and stuff like that.
He's a member of the Federalist Society?
No. He said he was groomed. Wait, there's more.
Oh, that's right.
There's more. Listen, you were groomed by the Federalist Society.
Has not shown 1 inch of difference between his views and theirs.
Oh, my.
And finally, he is someone who almost instinctively, powerful over the weak, corporations over working Americans. There could not be a worse time for someone with those instincts.
Oh, no.
He laid it out.
Isn't his record with corporations over people like 49% to 51%, something like that? I mean, it's and he takes it on a case-by-case basis. And what kind of judge is supposed to say, well, last time I did rule in favor of the corporation, I should rule in favor of the person this time.
Oh, the answer to your question, John Roberts is the answer to that question.
Yes. John Roberts. Who is John?
Yes.
Who is John Roberts? But I mean, that's not the way you do it. You're supposed to, there's not supposed to be an inch of difference between the Constitution and the justice. That's what there's not supposed to be an inch of difference. He should rule that way every time.
Yeah, but have you been groomed by the Federalist Society?
Thank you.
Yes, I hope I have been. By the way, as far as ideological bent, the New York Times did a chart of left to right justices and where Gorsuch would be. And he would be the second most conservative justice, as they tell the story, except for Clarence Thomas. However, who is the most liberal judge? You were Justice. You brought up Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's second. Number one, most liberal justice, Sonia Sotomayor.
Yeah.
More liberal than Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You think Chucky voted for Sotomayor?
Better believe it.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
She's going to be around a while, too.
I mean, it's just ludicrous
Well,
to
she's a
think that
proud
they're
Latina.
neutral on every political issue. Now, they're not supposed to rule politically, but they do. And we know it. And that's why a Republican president looks for a guy like this, and a Democrat looks for a person like Ginsburg or Sotomayor.
Wait. If you had a judge that was up there, that was guaranteed to go with the Republican president every single time, would you vote for him?
No.
Neither would I.
I don't want a justice that goes to the Republican president. I don't want one that goes to the Constitution.
Right. So there's a difference between what they have is they have somebody that will rule on politics or ideology.
Every time.
What we are asking for is someone that is rooted in the Constitution. When you're rooted in the Constitution, left and right doesn't matter. Republican, Democrat doesn't matter. It's just, what does the Constitution say about this? That is the most fair you can be. What Chucky wants is Chuck wants somebody who will deal not in justice, but social justice. That is not the role of the Supreme Court. That's not in the Constitution. I do not want someone who will rule with the Republicans every time, or 80% of the time, or 20% of the time, guaranteed. No, I want somebody to rule with the Constitution 100% of the time, because the parties will always flip, as we are noticing.
And I will say this standard only applies to the right. Neil Gorsuch is up there, and they're testifying about Roe versus Wade and abortion. Of course, they're asking him all these questions about it. He said if Trump asked him about Roe versus Wade and how he would vote on it, he said he would have walked out of the room. And they asked him, well, what about, is it settled? Is it the law of the land? Is it settled, case law? And he said it has been ruled on many times that it is the law of the land. Now, that makes me nervous, though his other rulings point to the fact that he will be on the right side of Roe versus Wade. Man, he better be.
Well, wait. To say it is the law of the land.
Right. So in nothing he said disqualifies him from that.
So is Jim Crow laws.
My point is, though, if you ask Sonia Sotomayor, hey, you for Roe versus Wade? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but we don't do that.
I know
we don't do that.
And it's burned us many times, by the way.
Yeah.
However, that is, again, you want someone who's going to actually look at the Constitution and read what's in it.
ZipRecruiter has been used by Fortune 100 companies and thousands of small and medium-sized businesses because they needed to find the perfect candidate in the most efficient manner. With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post your job on 200-plus job sites, including social media networks, Facebook and Twitter, all with a single click. You can find any candidate in any city, any industry, nationwide. You post once and watch your qualified candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. No juggling the emails or calls to your office. You screen the candidates, you rate them, and you hire the right person fast. Isn't that what you want? Right now, you can post your job on ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/Beck. You need to fill a role at your office? Please try this. It's free. You'll be amazed. It's how we hire people. You should give it a shot. ZipRecruiter.com/Beck. It's free. ZipRecruiter.com/Beck. really one of the guys on the front lines, and has developed TrumpNominee.com just so people can pay attention, see everything about Gorsuch, watch the hearings, and read all the important facts that you might need to know to make a decision. Kelly Shackelford, welcome to the program. How are you?
Good, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
This has been a really quite uninteresting hearing week. I mean, it's been good. He's rock solid, unflappable, but there have been no fireworks until we found out yesterday from Chuck Schumer that he was groomed by the Federalist Society. And hasn't shown shocking, and he hasn't shown any daylight between them. And he's an extremist. And am I hearing Schumer right that he's saying that the Democrats are going to filibuster?
I mean, that's what everybody's reporting. I mean, that's what he said. But I have a hard time believing that. We'll see. It would be an incredibly foolish move. You've got Gorsuch here, as you said, they couldn't land a punch on at all. And they've got to make him extreme. I mean, to filibuster, you know, they tried to filibuster Alito. They got 25 votes, and Alito had statements against Roe v. Wade in public and a long history. They have nothing really on Gorsuch. He's about almost 3,000 opinions, 2,700 or so, that he was a part of. And this is the thing, Glenn, this is so funny when you look at this. 97% of his opinions were unanimous. 99% he was in the majority. So it's hard to make him into something crazy. And yet that's where they would want to fight and die over the filibuster, because if they do, then I think the odds are great that even the moderate Republicans will feel comfortable saying, okay, Harry Reid took out the filibuster on the lower court judges. We're going to take them out on the Supreme Court. There's no reason to have this filibuster anymore.
Is there any reason, is there anything that gives you any doubt that Gorsuch gets in and he's John Roberts? He, you know, when it comes down to it, he screws us in the end.
Well, you just never know with anybody, because they can be the right person, have the right opinions, have the right philosophy, but then when push comes to shove, do they have courage? Do they have courage to do the right thing when the pressure's on? And that's tremendous pressure. Like if we're talking about, you know, overturning Roe v. Wade or something like that, if you get the numbers where that's the case and that's the vote. Obviously, with his whole life work of originalism and his opinions and everything, he gets an opinion and he says, this isn't in the Constitution. That's what he's going to say, absent, you know, doing something like you say, like a John Roberts. I know a couple of people there were people that were concerned about what he said on the last day, which was that the Obergefell opinion, the same-sex marriage opinion, was settled law. And a lot of people said, whoa, what does that mean? He admitted it's settled law. And I just didn't take that as something huge. He's a court of appeals judge. For him, it was settled law. I mean, he had to follow it because it was a higher court. That doesn't mean that, you know, everything that's already decided on is settled law now, that when he got a new case with facts and allowed him to analyze it with a proper judicial approach, that he wouldn't have a different opinion. So we won't know until we see. He's got the philosophy, the approach of a Scalia, of, you know, the conservatives on the court. I do think the first part of your question, Glenn, I do think he's going to be on the court. I think they're having the vote on April 3rd. And then it'll go, I think that the idea is for them to get that out of committee and then to have the vote on the floor of the Senate and to be done by their recess on April 7th. So I think it's highly likely that by April 7th, he's going to be Justice Gorsuch. We'll see, but that looks like the schedule. And the only question is what you're asking about. Are they going to filibuster? And if they do, I think all they're doing is ending the filibuster, which politically would not be smart, because the next battle is probably going to be even more ferocious, because it's really about the control of the court. This is,
and that's the one where a lot of people will really care. Mm-hmm. That's the one where they'll be able to ratchet it up, because you're going to lose a liberal on the court, and so all of the TV, you know, spots and everything else. And if they get rid of the filibuster, then it will look very unfair and everything else. if they filibuster now and the Republicans are like, fine, we're just, you nuked us before, we nuke you, we don't need this anymore, we're just moving forward, nobody will really care at this point. But they'll have a chance to that being real fire against the Republicans the next time.
I agree. That's why it really doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, the only rationale for this is that the base is so extreme, and that people like Schumer feel like they have to placate their base, that they're doing things that are even incredibly politically foolish. But I'm sure the Republicans assume now. We're assuming something. We're assuming that at least 50 Republicans will hold strong and say, well, this is so outrageous that, of course, we're going to end this filibuster. And Harry Reid ended it on all these other things anyway. We're assuming that will happen. Sometimes we get surprised by the Republicans and what they do, so we'll have to wait and see.
Tell me what the Federalist Society is, or what you know about it.
The Federalist Society is sort of a debating society. It's considered conservative, but really what they do is they hold meetings all over the country with lawyers, really the top lawyers, the top judges around the country, and they bring them in, and there's always two sides. They always have two of the top intellectuals or four of the top intellectuals debating whatever very mundane but particular constitutional or statutory or legal issue, and sort of it's somewhat of a meeting where people gather, they hear intellectual discourse from two opposite sides, and that, it's considered the more conservative one because they're actually fair. There's a liberal one that doesn't do the same thing, but it's considered the conservative one, and because of that, I think usually at their national meetings, they have one big national meeting amongst local meetings around the country. Usually 4 or 5 of the Supreme Court justices, usually the more conservative ones, will show up and speak at those as well.
Right, okay, but they meet in secret and they're all wearing cowls, right?
No, it's all public. People can come. They allow membership. They don't ask you what your beliefs are. It's nothing like that. It's really a group that values things like what is the law, what does the Constitution say, and they're very fair in that they always have an equal number of people on each side in these debates because they want to learn what the thoughts are, what the arguments are. But as a result of actually trying to hew to what the law is, they're seen as more conservative.
Do you think, Kelly, that how do you think Neil Gorsuch would rule on the idea of Glenn Beck having Coca-Cola and M&Ms for breakfast today?
That it's swinging back the other direction in the home. The things that were common sense for our grandmothers, our mothers got lost with, at least mine did, with the equal rights movement. She was battling she was, had 1 foot one place and 1 foot the other. She couldn't go for the Marxism burn your bra thing, but she also wanted to be more than a stay-home mom, and she was confused. That confused the daughters, and now our daughters are starting to swing back the other way. And it reminds me of the gods of the copybook headings. Listen just this last. Then the gods of the market tumbled, and their smooth-tongued wizards withdrew, and the hearts of the meanest were humbled and began to believe it was true, that all is not gold that glitters, and two do make 4. And the gods of the copybook headings limped up to explain it once more. As it will be in the future, it was at the birth of man. There are only 4 things certain since social progress began, that the dog returns to his vomit, and the sow returns to his mire, and the burnt fool's bandaged finger goes wobbling back to the fire. That's where we are. It's going wobbling back to the fire, but it is, it's waking up. And after this is accomplished, and the brave new world begins, when all men are paid for existing, and no man must pay for his sins, we're right there. As surely as water will wet us, as surely as fire will burn, the gods of the copybook headings with terror and slaughter return. We are at that point to where no man pays for his sins, every man is just paid for existing. And 2 and 2 don't equal 4, but it soon will again. That's what's happening. Goldline is our sponsor this half hour. According to one expert, the different perspectives of Chairwoman Yellen and President Trump further underscore the potential for a future collision rather than productive collaboration. Donald Trump versus Janet Yellen, the clash getting closer to happening. The markets had been looking for real progress from Trump's promise on tax reform and regulatory rollbacks and the rollback of real reform in health care. That's not happening. The market shrugged off the Market 15 Fed interest rate increase in anticipation of the Trump-spurred economic growth. But if you notice what's happening to the stock market right now, it is starting to say, wait a minute, maybe that's not going to happen. So what does come next? Only God knows. But 2 and 2 do equal 4. And when the gods of the copybook headings return, it's not pleasant. I would have gold, something that is eternally true. Gold. Find out the risk for buying gold or silver and putting it in your portfolio. Call 866-465-3546. The only company I recommend doing business with is Goldline. 1-866-GOLDLINE. 1-866-GOLDLINE or goldline.com. I want the option. Like, I will go see Life in the movie theater if I can. I want to see it in the movie theater because it looks like a big screen spectacular, and there's something about being in the movie theater.
Yeah, I like the movie theater.
There are other movies that are not that big of a deal that you're like, okay, Sing, just put it on my damn TV. Watch Sing with my family in the family room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it depends. I just want the option to be able to do it. Movie theaters don't want to go out of business, but movie theaters are doing a good job of reinventing themselves.
Yeah, they are.
But they're still getting that help of the extra. Now even they're fighting for, they're saying that you can pay extra money for, you're not going to be able to see it at home until 30 or 35 days after it's released. So they're still forcing you to go to the theater if you want to see it brand.
If it's a big movie, you're not waiting for Star Wars for 45 days.
And I'm not going to see Star Wars. I don't want to rent Star Wars and watch it on my TV. I want to watch Star Wars in surround sound. And there are times that I want to watch things. What was the movie you saw? Get Out?
Yeah.
I heard that was a great movie to watch in a movie theater.
Yes, it was.
Because you experience cheering everyone else.
Yeah, everybody's cheering. Everybody's like,
gasping.
Yeah. You want to watch movies, and it encourages movie makers and cinemas, theaters, to actually make the experience great. I don't want to watch something that I can watch on my big screen TV at my home, and it's the same experience.
Yeah, I mean, everyone likes options, right? So I'd love to have the option. I don't think it'd be something that I would use that often, though. I mean, when I want to see a movie, I'll go to the theater and see it. If not, I mean, I'm not. If I'm willing to wait 30 days, then I don't need to pay the premium.
You know what's amazing is movie theaters knew that, at least the movie companies knew that this is the way theaters should be run. Years ago, I remember in 1982, I'm in Washington, D.C., and the Movie Association, the Motion Picture Association of America, had a screening room. And I don't remember what I saw. It might have been the new Star Wars movie when it first came out. The second, well, let's see, the third, the
Empire
fourth,
Strikes
fifth.
Back.
Empire Strikes Back. I may have seen that in Washington, D.C. in a screening room. And I remember I was like 19 years old, and I'm like, holy cow, you should see this theater. They had recliners, and they had a little table, and they had people coming up, and you could order food, you could order drinks, and it was the greatest thing ever. Well, that's what we have now.
At least here.
Yeah.
I don't know if this has hit every city in America,
What's the one
but
we
Dallas
go
has
to?
a lot of really awesome ones.
What's the one we go to? I
the
love
Movie
it.
House and Eatery.
Oh my gosh, the
it's
movie
phenomenal.
Is it Movie House and Eatery?
Yeah.
Movie House and Eatery.
Yeah.
You have one of those.
It's phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
The dine-in theater is really the way to go because you knock out dinner and the movie at the same time.
And usually the food is pretty good.
Food is not bad, but you're dropping more than 50.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, yeah, you are.
Well, you're getting two things out of it. You're going to dinner and you're getting a movie.
Plus, you pay a premium price for that really nice seating.
Yes,
and stuff.
you do.
It's always $12, no matter when you go. They don't have matinee prices or any of that. It's always $12 across the board.
And it's also, you get the assigned seating.
I
which
like
is
that,
great.
too. I do like
and
that
it's
part
clean.
of it.
Beautiful. It's fantastic.
You don't have to go.
So comfortable.
Yeah, you go early if you want to eat before the movie, or you can go right before the movie,
Yeah,
and you know where you're going to sit.
I like the reserved seating part.
really
I wish they
comfortable.
all did.
The only problem is it's almost too comfortable because I fall asleep at almost every movie now because I'm reclining back and I'm like, ugh.
Well, they gonna let me rent this at home.
Well, Cheyenne brings a blanket with her.
Really?
Yeah. She's like, it's cold. I bring in a blanket. She brings a blanket, and she's asleep. And I'm like, why am I paying $12 for her to sleep? Stay at home, babe.
Yeah, she's telling you before you leave the house that you're wasting your money.
Sleep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I'm going to take a $12 nap.
Food that she ordered, and it's tough. I mean,
I know. I sit next to her every time. Oh, you're not going to eat that. You're asleep.
Oh, she's asleep.
Anyway, so let's change gears here, and let's go to global warming, because Al Gore had a...
This is frightening.
This is frightening. A new message for everybody. You need
now poses a great danger that could even threaten the future of human civilization itself.
Wow. The future of human
civilization itself. Now, let me ask you something, and I mean this sincerely. If you were never, ever questioned or pushed back, and you were given all kinds of awards, for all of your, whatever you said, everybody worshiped you. And you said, I'm never going to talk to people who disagree with me. I'm never going to debate them because they're deniers. And you were effective at taking everyone who disagreed with you and painting them into a monster. And you could do that for 20 years. How wrong would you be on almost everything that you said after a 20-year drift?
You would be as wrong as Al Gore is.
You would be.
Because that's exactly what he does.
I mean, when nobody's pushing back on him at all,
right?
The guy can say...
He will not go to any hostile environment where people will test him, where they'll give a little pushback. Never.
Well, this happened with you, right?
Yeah.
When you were in Houston?
Yeah. They said when Inconvenient Truth came out in 2005, was it? They said, okay, he's only doing interviews with those who have seen the movie. So I went to that crappy movie, went through that experience, suffered through the whole thing, then went back to him. Yeah, he's not going to do the interview. Well, you said he'd do the interview. No, he's not doing any of those interviews. So the only place he would go were to friendly outlets. He would go to all the
That was few and far between, I think, after. I mean, because he ended up getting pushed back on some of those interviews, and he was like, I can't do that.
So imagine,
you can't.
Just think, guys, how lucky we are that people push back.
Yeah.
I mean, we can, I thought we could defend our position because people call us a pariah all the time. I mean, there's a blessing in that. Otherwise, you'd be as wrong as this guy is.
Yeah.
I was just in the Persian Gulf region, and the scientists, for the last couple of years, one of the lines of investigation they've been pursuing has led them to the conclusion that significant areas of the Middle East and North Africa are in danger of becoming uninhabitable. And just a taste of this, to link it to some of the events
Hold
that
on just
the
a second.
UK and
Hold on just a second. You're saying parts of the Middle East are uninhabitable?
Uninhabitable.
So like parts of Saudi Arabia and Iraq and Syria
and parts of Northern Africa
are not green, luscious land that is fertile for mankind to live?
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time getting around.
Is there a term to describe that sort of environment?
I don't know if anybody is up on this. It's called a desert.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. It's a new scientific.
I've heard of desert.
Yeah.
Is it the same as desert?
No, it's the opposite. There's no way to grow anything. It's just a place full of sand.
It sounds like desert. It's not.
But it's not. It's very different.
Okay.
Opposite
and Union are going through, and I know that's another source of stress because we're now on the eve next week of the Brexit process. But think for a moment about what happened in Syria.
Let's think about that.
You know, we look at the gates of hell opening. They've long since opened. But before the gates of hell opened in Syria, what happened?
What happened?
A climate-related extreme drought. And the scientists have published these peer-reviewed studies for several years now, showing exactly why it's related to the climate crisis.
And this is an important point as he makes it here. That it's not that he never receives pushback, but built into his worldview is that everyone who does pushback is a Holocaust denier.
Yes.
Is someone with such little credibility they should never be listened to under any circumstances. And to be honest...
And those who get government money to do studies that will back you up are the greatest scientists of the world.
Like Dr. Maslowski. And it's funny because...
No, say it like Al Gore.
Dr. Mavlowski.
Yeah, right, that guy. So the point here, though, is that...
some of Dr. Mavlowski's research.
In some of the months.
In some of the summer month.
We should play that quote again. Yeah. It's so good. But I think largely as a society, we're all falling into this, right? This is what social media is doing to everybody. Because you get pushback on social media, but everyone who disagrees with you, you just automatically just say is nuts or, is crazy and you shouldn't listen to them. You're a denier, you're a hater, you care. And so people don't get legitimate, honest pushback on any of their points. It's what we talked to with Megan Phelps Roper, who used to be in the Westboro Baptist Church earlier this week. And since you never face honest questions anywhere, people wind up just being in their little
in their
arena
bubble
and never get pushed.
The guy is actually blaming the Syrian war
we're getting there.
on climate change. I mean, the unmitigated gall of that is just, it's hard to get your head around.
Well, I mean, he's saying that the final outcome in Brexit, he's speaking in the United Kingdom in Brexit is because of that.
Because of climate change.
Ultimately, the beginning cause is climate change.
From 2006 to 2010, 60% of the farms in Syria were destroyed and had to be abandoned. 80% of the livestock were killed. The drought in the eastern Mediterranean is the worst ever recorded. The records only go back 900 years, but it's historic.
It's historic.
And 1.5 million climate refugees were driven into the cities of Syria, where they collided with another 1.5 million refugees from the Iraq War.
They ran smack into them because 1.5 million were just standing there. And then the refugees ran directly into them. And then the ones who were standing there already were pissed. And a war broke out.
It's interesting. It's interesting. The guy that I read yesterday, the guy who wrote Homo Deus, the brief history of tomorrow, he said that starvation is done, a thing of the past. And the only reason why we have famine now is because some politician wants people to starve.
Like perhaps Bashir Assad.
Yes, perhaps that. Now wonder. This. How do you protect your most valuable items? We trust Liberty Safe. Nothing like the peace of mind that comes from owning a Liberty Safe. Do your homework like I did. Every Liberty comes with a lifetime warranty, and their customer service is number one. Customer service is really important to me. But also how they're made and who makes them. Where are they made? Liberty Safe is all made here in America. That's great, but I don't buy an American car unless it's better than the European car. If it's better than the European car, great. This is the best built safe, bar none. I love Liberty Safe, and they are all built here in America. Now you can save up to $250 off when you buy a Liberty Safe. Go to libertysafe.com, use the promo code Beck, and the discounts are automatic, and matching mail-in rebate is also offered there. Best built safe on the planet. Go to libertysafe.com and type in Beck. And right now you can find great deals on the Liberty Safes at Cabela's. When you go in, you will not see Liberty Safe. You will see Cabela's on the safe door. Those are all made by Liberty. The same amazing quality and lifetime warranty. And right now, Cabela's is having their great outdoor days, and they have some excellent deals on Cabela's Safes by Liberty. Check out your nearest Cabela's and find the Liberty Safe that's right for you. Chuck Norris and his wife's charity tonight, and doing a fundraiser for them. I've painted something for the charity, and I'm going to have Chuck sign it on the side. It's my version of Chuck Norris, but
kind of looks like him.
It does look like him. It does look like him. So anyway, if you're down in the Houston area, you can find more about it at glenbeck.com.
Did the artists get to make that determination? No, it does. No. It does look just like them.
No, the artists.
No, you don't get to say that. Jeffy is saying, as an outside observer, whether it looks like Chuck Norris. You don't get to correct him and say it does.
Does it look like Chuck Norris?
It looks a little like him. That's what I said.
Oh, my gosh, it looks a little like him. It looks just like him.
No, it does. I think it does. Yeah. But you don't get to make that determination.
Thank you.
Riffraff. Okay. Let's see. Let's talk about the story where the scientists have tried to hire. How many scientists tried to hire this guy?
40. They went to 48 different scientific journals.
Okay.
48 scientific journals, and they tried to get this particular scientist on the board to do peer review. And you just heard Al Gore talking about how important peer review is. And the thing is, only 40 of them accepted this.
Out of how many?
48.
48 were approached. 40 of them said yes to accepting him to do peer review studies.
The one issue was he wasn't a scientist at all.
Yeah.
In fact, his last name was Fraud. 40 of 48 scientific journals hired a guy named Fraud.
Oh, my gosh.
With fake credentials.
Well, there's absolute consensus by scientists on this issue.
Yeah, but are they peer-reviewed by people like this?
Peer-reviewed by Dr. Fraud.
They shouldn't have let on until they had actually peer-reviewed some stuff.
Right. Yeah. That's great, though.
And they said they think that this sort of misconduct, because they think a lot of these places are just doing it. They'll take anybody who submits something and pays them.
Of course they will.
And this is why Willie Soon, who is a really respected scientist, he's from...
Well, he was.
Yeah, he was, until he became a skeptic on man-caused global warming. He's calling it an anti-science movie. He said that they need to create a place in hell to put UN's climate science and predictions.
Now, he originally signed on... Wasn't he the original signer of that?
I'm not sure.
Don't know. He was. I mean, he's been a known skeptic for a while.
Quite a while.
But he was in on it. Not in on it, but he thought there was enough evidence to say, hey, we should study this. We should look at it at first, wasn't he?
We've talked to so many scientists over the years.
Okay.
It may be. I know
we've had him on.
He's
too.
an astrophysicist at Harvard. He's not just some guy,
right?
But because he's skeptical, he's been ostracized from.
It does say once a friend of the IPCC.
Yeah, I think he was original signer.
Yeah, the second and third climate assessment, IPCC cited my work very prominently, and then all of a sudden they stopped reaching out because we're running out of favor in a sense because he started to become skeptical. He started to look at the actual evidence. He started to see that all the climate models were wrong. He started to see that what they were saying just wasn't true. I mean, every drought, every heat wave, every cold wave, every snow, every non-snow is blamed on the same stinking thing. And it's ludicrous.
Except your daughter just had to do a report on climate.
The whole class on this internet class was asked to do their opinion on climate change, and so she wrote her skeptical opinion. And she was, out of 35 students, the only one who was skeptical. Wow! Everybody else, including the teacher, wholeheartedly in love with this.
How do you know that? It's the state services. Do you mean that the president is behind these reports? Or do you believe that politicians are behind these reports? I'm going to go further. I blame the president. Who said that? Let me give you another hint. He is now saying that the president is orchestrating a plot against him by surveilling him and releasing information against him.
I mean,
is it the guy in France?
It's the guy in France. He says that the president of France, Francois Hollande, is orchestrating a plot, and it's against him, and he is just trying to lie about him and release all of these secret details about him.
Is this just being repeated all over the world? Is that what's happening?
I guess.
Weird.
I guess.
That's weird.
Might as well. It worked.
Yeah, I guess.
They're now saying, is the European spring in the making? How long ago was it I talked about a European spring?
Well, that's what.
Around the same time as the
Caliphate.
Yeah.
Not the same time as the Caliphate. I said next. Caliphate will happen, then next will be European spring. I thought it would happen a lot faster, but now they're reporting, hey,
are you bringing it up again?
Woo-hoo. I know. That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk.
I mean, looking at that French presidential election, too, because the polling is out, and Le Pen is the one that everyone's talking about, obviously, because that family comes from, with the National Front, which is sort of seen as this very right-wing, if not, people call them fascists all the time. But you go back, I mean, they have, this is definitely the best showing they've ever had. I mean, you go back to 2002, this happened, because the way they do their presidential election in France is they have, everyone's in the same pool, and then the top two go to a runoff. And unless someone gets over 50%, which is, I believe, never happened in any of their presidential elections. So there's always a runoff election between the top two. And so her dad, the dad of this family, the founder of the party, who's seen even as more radical than the daughter.
Holocaust denier.
Right. So this is back when Jacques Chirac was in, and the first round, Chirac got 20%, Le Pen had 17%, and then the socialist had 16%. No one found the socialist. They were like, oh, I can't believe the socialist didn't beat the fascist, was their way of taking that. I went to the runoff after that, and Chirac won 82-18.
Wow.
So basically, every single vote outside of the votes that Le Pen got in the first round went to Chirac. They only went from 17 to 18 in the two rounds.
So what are they doing? What is she getting now?
So to just going through these from year by year here real quick, didn't make the runoff in 2007, didn't make the runoff in 2012. The polling right now in 2017 has in first place, not second place, first place is Jean-Marie Le Pen at 27%. And then Macron, the next guy, is at between 20 and 26%, depending on the poll. So that looks like a very tight race where Chirac won fairly handily in the first round of the other election and then blew him out in the second round. This one, it looks like Le Pen might win the first round. Now, she's still an underdog to win the final election, but I think the last poll had the head-to-head as a 16-point margin. And that sounds like a big margin. However, when it's only two candidates, an 8-point swing in either direction. If a terrorist attack tends to do things like that, terrorist attack happens, that could easily switch these people, and she could be the president of France.
Why don't these people just do their elections right? Why?
I think they are right, honestly. I think this is a better system.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it's a better system than what we have.
No, it is not.
I totally do.
No,
the only thing I would say is it should happen instantly. The instant runoff voting is, I like it. I think Maine just passed it, by the way, which is they have a big pool. Everyone can vote for whoever they want, and then you prioritize who you vote second. So you can vote for a third party if you want. But like if you're the first person, you know what, I think Gary Johnson is the best president. However, I don't think he's going to win. So my second choice will be Donald Trump because I don't want Hillary.
Okay.
You could do that.
So if we're going to prioritize, here's what I'm going to prioritize. Toast first.
Yeah.
Bread second.
French
toast, French bread.
Oh, okay.
Fries. What about fries?
Then those aren't really French. Then I would go to
French in its name. What do you
their
mean?
style.
French.
Their style.
Style?
Right.
Okay.
I'd go for their style, and I'd go for their food.
What about the kissing? That's a great one.
French kissing is also very, very good. I can't even put politics on the way they elect their president in the top 5.
I like the way they elect their president. They just elect all crappy presidents. They don't have any small government
but that's
options.
because of the French people.
Right, but that's not the election process.
A long time ago.
Right.
It would be nice to be able to, because I mean, look, you go back to the election. Everyone was like binary choice here. I don't like the people that didn't like Donald Trump that voted for him anyway. Just said, look, I don't like him, but it's him or Hillary, and I don't want Hillary. Well, in this system, you'd be able to say, I want whoever, and then my second choice is Trump. So when your top choice was eliminated and did not finish in the top 2, the vote would go to Trump, and you'd be able to get exactly what you want. Every single person who wanted that thing to happen, where they wanted to vote for their conscience but didn't want to get Hillary elected, would have been able to do that under this system.
All right, can we talk about the one thing that I think we really need to talk about, and that is if you're a lesbian and you like girls, but you don't like girls, and excuse me, but I have to be technical here because this is real science now. If you don't like girls with penises, then you are a sissophobe. Huh?
You're what now?
Do you have that, Pat? Do you have the audio? Because this is very important. This is very important.
From Riley Dennis?
A transphobe or a sissophobe, which I just want him to explain it.
Okay.
Recently on the internet, there's been a lot of discussion around genital preferences and transphobia. In this video, I'm going to use the word cissexism instead of transphobia, but they're really similar words. At its most basic, cissexism means prejudice or discrimination against transgender people. So what's been happening is that some people are making the argument that it's not cissexist at all to only be attracted to people with one kind of genitals. For example, these people might argue that being attracted to only women with vaginas in no way negatively affects trans people. On the other hand, I would argue that it's more complicated than that. We all have our implicit biases built into our preferences, and gender isn't as simple as just the genitals you have. But after I say that, I usually get a bunch of blatantly cis-sexist responses. So I thought I'd address all of those responses at once.
Isn't that amazing? Okay, so if you believe that a woman with a penis is a man, you're cis-sexist.
No, that's not what he said. If you are not attracted.
Yeah, you even have to be attracted.
You have to be attracted. If you're not attracted to a woman with a penis, you are transphobic or cisphobic.
This is nuts.
Number one, you're being homophobic. In this argument, I often get accused of homophobia, lesbophobia, or lesbian erasure by lesbians who believe that I'm trying to change their...
Or lesbian erasure?
What would lesbian erasure be, Jeffy?
I'm not sure, actually.
Can you look it up?
Really? Even you don't know what that is? Check on that while we hear the rest of this.
Sexual orientation.
Is it a lesbian version of the band Erasure? Is that possible? Like they have like a cover band that are all lesbians?
I don't
know.
Could be.
A lot like a dude who tried to turn...
When you say lesbians, do you mean women with a vagina and not women with a penis?
I don't have a strong stance on that.
them straight or like conversion therapy. Those responses are rooted in cissexism. This is because I'm not telling lesbians that they can't be lesbians. If you're a woman who only likes women, go ahead, identify as a lesbian. But some women have penises, and if the fact that some lesbians might be...
No, they don't.
No, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. They don't.
No, they don't. Because by definition, then they're not a woman.
Okay, so remember what Paulina told me when we were in Poland, and
just don't go off the cliff with the rest of the world.
She said the righteous didn't suddenly become righteous; they just refused to go over the cliff with the rest of humanity.
Yeah,
I think this is one of those things where I draw the line.
We are right there. Yes,
a woman has a vagina.
Yes,
a man has a penis. Mm-hmm. A woman cannot have a penis. I'm sorry.
Take a look.
You don't have to.
No, just look at this. Don't look at on my computer right here.
No, I don't know. That's not a woman. That's not a woman.
We'll talk about that off the air. Please don't get any screenshots of his
I
computer.
don't really.
It feels like we're just talking about two different things. I get stuck at this every single time we have this conversation. It's like they are discussing something that we're not discussing. I don't know. Like that is every child that's born. You get a birth certificate that says right then, male or female, and you can say like there might be some like a gender identity can be something else, I guess. Right? Like you could say, but that's like a different category. It's a different conversation, different topic.
Like a gerbil one day. That doesn't make you a gerbil.
That's just not how that works.
It doesn't work like that. You can feel like a woman if you want to, but if you've got the man unit, you're a man. Okay, you got a hoo-ha, you're a woman, and that's
quite honestly
all there is to it.
Quite honestly, if you cut it off and tuck it in, your chromosome still says, your genes still tell.
But at least
scientists.
If you have the surgery, I mean, there's a discussion there, right?
Yes. At least you're committed.
Come on.
Because that's a lot to ask.
That is a lot.
Come on. Every woman in the world would go to the doctor immediately if she opens up her pants one day and that's hanging there. She's like, oh my God, what is that? Going to the doctor, there's a problem. She doesn't go like, what? Some women have that. She doesn't do that.
They don't. No, they don't.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know, everything.
Listen to the matter-of-fact way. Like, this has always been the way.
I know. This is the deal. They're creating an entirely new language.
Yeah.
There's an entirely new language.
Thing, CIS. It starts, every word involving gender, it begins with cis or whatever. I mean, it's...
And that's, a male who's a male and attracted to women, right? A male has a man unit and is attracted to women. It's like the traditional way that people thought about it in the scary old times when they didn't understand what she was talking about. Like that, those old things. I can't say lesbian erasure. By the way,
trans bashing.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
By lesbians?
What's interesting.
There's been a real hostility, I guess, between lesbians and transgender because lesbians say you're not real women. And so there is this hostility between lesbians, women, who are bashing and saying to transgendered women that they're not women. And so there's a fight in between.
Quit horning in on our property.
Can I tell you something?
That's our territory.
There is something to be said for the weightlifter, the guy weightlifter. Sports may actually end this nonsense.
That's what I'm thinking too.
The girl, where was that? Where the women's weightlifting champion went to a guy who said...
She beat the runner-up by 45 pounds.
Yeah.
New Zealand.
Right. And all the women are going, it's a dude.
Weightlifter.
Oh, no. Are you transphobic?
Everyone's super progressive until they're in a competition against a guy.
Yeah. And then they're like, no, he can't compete. Why not? It may actually be sports that ends this nonsense.
Well, and again, I don't see how you can argue to have a separation. I mean, why is there a WNBA? Let the women come in and play against the NBA players and see how they do. If they can outperform them, they'll let them all play together. Right. And you know what's going to happen? There's going to be no women playing. That's what's going to happen. Because
it's like white people on the basketball court.
Yeah, very few.
Let the best players play. Right now, it happens to be black people that are playing better basketball than white people. Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
And the market has decided that.
Right.
Apparently.
Let the best players play. I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, you live in a country where it's 76% white people, and 87%, I think, of the NBA is African American.
That's probably true.
And most of the people who are white are from Germany.
Well, when we come,
but the point, that's the market saying one group of people somehow, for whatever reason, has outperformed another group, and that's okay.
That's okay. When we come back, we'll tell you about the prom dates that are randomly assigned by a lottery at a school, so nobody is left out.
Nice.
We'll give you that. And now this. Have you ever wondered what outrageous comfort is? Sleep a few nights on a Casper mattress and you'll know. Casper mattress is the perfect mattress engineered for a great night's sleep. Really engineered.
Are you actually outraged by the comfort? Like you wake up in the middle of the night pissed off at your bed because you're too comfortable?
No, that doesn't mean outrageous like I'm outraged.
You're just pissed off.
No.
You know what? How dare you, bed? This is too comfortable. I don't want to get up. You have those moments?
Well, actually, I am, but I'm not screaming at the bed. Okay. I'm screaming at the alarm clock or my wife who is nudging me. It ships free in a box so small you won't believe it holds a mattress. Casper mattress. Try it out for 100 nights in your own home, risk-free. If you don't love it, they will pick it up and take it away and refund every single penny. No questions asked. Go to Casper.com. Use the promo code Beck. There's nothing to lose on this. Try it. You're going to love this bed. Casper mattress. Get $50 off the purchase of your mattress. Casper.com. Promo code Beck. Casper.com. Promo code Beck. Terms and conditions do apply. So nobody gets left out. I could tell you about that story, but really the headline says it all. We've only got a couple of minutes here before we go for the weekend. Anything that we have left that we haven't gotten to that we said we were going to?
Dr. Maslowski.
A request did come in about an hour ago from Stu for this famous Al Gore clip and Pat's take on it.
And some of the models suggest to Dr. Maslowski that there is a 75% chance that the entire North Polar Ice Cap during some of the summer months could be ice-free within the next 5 to 7 years.
Okay, now that was given about 10 years ago. So was Maslowski really wrong? Because he gave the impression in some of his studies that during some of the summer months, 75% could,
but not necessarily will. So he was exactly right.